Hello, AOMS Middle School staff, families, and especially students. Welcome to the craziest school year start ever. It's Mrs. Flowers, proud principal of AOMS Middle School, and I'm coming to you from my Harry Potter under the staircase little office area that I set up, so I have some quiet time here at the house. So I'm gonna do the presentation video, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the neighbor's dogs don't bark or my cat doesn't jump up and crawl across the front of the screen. So hopefully I don't have to do too many takes of this. Welcome back, everybody. We're so excited to have you back in school-ish. We are definitely doing school, we're just not doing brick and mortar. This is gonna be for at least the first 4 weeks of school, and then depending upon health orders and word from our Board of Education, we'll get to decide from there if we're coming back onto campus or we're going hybrid or staying distance learning. So we're definitely having a forced experience in flexibility. So hopefully this is working. I've tested it twice, so you should see me and the purple screen, but I won't really know until I see the video at the end. Okay, so welcome back. For our sixth graders, we're so excited to have you. Just to let you know, I have my daughter coming to AOMS Middle School this year too as a sixth grader. So she's a little nervous about having her mom be the principal, or the principal being her mom, which is kind of rough both directions. But I get the perspective of her telling me what's confusing and what makes sense for schedules and stuff like that. And then also from the parent perspective, I have a whole nother layer of, oh, don't send that, I'm getting too much information, or this is confusing, or is that the same as the other schools or different? So I've got an extra layer of connections now also. So, but to our sixth graders, we're excited to have you. There's going to be some things that are a little bit confusing at first, and some of them that are super easy. First of all, we're the Falcons. Our mascot is Fran the Falcon. Not many people know that. And we are really, really excited. The teachers are really excited to get back to work, to get back to making connections, to getting back to teaching and learning and having those experiences happen, whether they're virtual or in the classroom or anything. We really miss you guys. So 3 things we want to talk about, kind of underlying themes over the next, well, at least 4 weeks, but probably the whole school year. Relationships, routines, and resilience. You'll have this slide deck in addition to the video I send out showing me walk through the slide deck. You'll actually have access to this whole slide deck also. Relationships, always the most important thing. It's the most important thing in humanity. It's the most important thing at Aviara. Making connections with each other, making connections with our teachers and staff, that's critical. That has to happen. And it's harder. We have to make such a more of an effort when we're in a distance learning model. When you're on campus and you want to meet a new friend, they're usually standing 10 feet away from you, and you can come alongside them and introduce yourself. Also kind of weird and scary, but hard to do when you're one box on a screen and a new friend is another box on the screen. So you have to make more of an effort, but we're going to work through some of those things with our counselors and with our teachers on what it looks like to make that effort and make new friends and make connections. Routines. This mostly is going to be about the routines, at least this video, because the routines and the stability is what has to happen for us. It's almost like humans need it, and certainly children need it too, need regular routines and regular patterns, and we fit into those. One of the things I always talk with kids about is that we have to put up crosswalks, and we have freedom inside the crosswalk, but we need to have boundaries and crosswalks. So routines kind of help to set some of those crosswalks for us. And then of course, resiliency. And when you get this, please click on the video that I have here, which is one of the Pixar shorts. It's called Rebounding. It talks about how change happens to us, whether we like it or not, but how we behave through change really makes a difference in how we feel about the world, but also it makes a difference on how we affect the world around us. So we're going to see that. I don't want to show it right now because it's 6 minutes and I don't want to take up your time. But we'll definitely watch it during the advisory class in the coming weeks. And it'll be something that I continue to talk about on how we rebound from change and from problems. Okay, so this week you're going to pick up your schedules. So I'll tell you about when you come to pick up your schedules if you don't already have it marked on your calendar, but that's later in the presentation. But when you get your schedules, it is going to look like you have 8 classes, but you don't have 8 classes. So this is the traditional schedule that you would get no matter what. So if you're in, distance learning, this is your schedule. This is your teachers. If we end up going hybrid, these will be your teachers. If we come back traditional, these will be your teachers. And your period number won't change at all. So I'm looking at this one in the back. I'm like pointing at the screen, but I'm using my cursor. Hopefully you can see it. I have circled in red, period 1, and then under the course title, beginning band, and under the teacher name, Mrs. Brown. So you're going to get a schedule that looks just like this week, and it will have all of your teachers, all of the periods, and all of the course titles on it. 7th and 8th graders, you guys know how to read these schedules. There's nothing confusing for you on this at all. 6th graders, there's a few things that are going to look kind of confusing on this, but we'll work it out with you. But all of you need to look at this other one, which is the daily schedule. So this is during distance learning. These are the times and the periods that you will be on specific days during the week. I want to walk through this with you carefully. So the first thing that you're going to need to do when you get your schedule is you're going to go to this link that I'll have for you, and you're going to pull up one of these sample schedules. And you're going to look on your schedule and you're going to say, okay, for period 1, I have beginning band and Miss Brown. And you're going to come and you'll have to make a copy because I'm going to force you to make a copy instead of using mine. You'll make a copy of this, and where it says subject area, you'll type in band. And where it says teacher name, you'll type in Miss Brown. And then on Thursday, where you also have period 1, you'll do the same thing. Then you'll come back up to the top and look at period 2. For this student, it's science 6. And it's unassigned right now because we have a new teacher coming, but there'll be a name there, hopefully, by Tuesday. And if not, it will certainly be there by the first day of school. And you'll type in period 2, which is in the pink area. And that's science. And then the teacher's name, and you can just put unassigned there for now or leave it blank. And you'll go through all of those pieces. I'm going to take you quickly over to that actual schedule so you can see it. So I'm going to click here, see if it works. And it takes you to that actual schedule. Okay, so here it is. You're going to have to make a copy of it. So hopefully you know how to do that. But if not, you'll come up here. I'll wait for it to load. And I'm sorry because my face isn't on the camera. You'll come over here. It's really slow loading. There we go. You'll go to File, and you'll come down here to Make a Copy. Make a copy of it, and you'll name it your name, you know, like Jane Smith's schedule. And then you'll click OK. And then remember it was period 1, so you come in here and click band. Oops, if I can spell it. Band. Right? And in case you don't know how to enter and stay in the same cell, it's Control Enter. And that makes it so it doesn't jump down to the next cell. And the teacher's name is Brown. You can leave it like that. And then you'll have that. And then you'll do the same thing over here for period 1. Now, if you're clever enough and you know how to copy and paste a cell, you can do that. Or if you need to, you just retype it in period 1. So you'll go through each one of those steps for all of these boxes based upon your schedule that you get on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday by grade level. Okay, so I'm going to go backwards so I don't mess this up for everybody. Close this window, come back to this one and put it in presentation mode, hopefully. There we go. All right, so it went ahead and jumped to the next slide. And on the next slide, you're going to see that you have a period 3 advisory. So you'll see period 3, you have advisory, and we'll talk to you later about what happens during advisory. It's kind of like a homeroom, but we'll get into that in greater detail. And this student has Ms. Devich for advisory. So we're only having advisory once a week during distance learning. Usually when we're at school, it's every day, but during distance learning, it's just once a week. And you can see it here at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. You have to go to advisory, so you have to actually wake up every day and go to school. I'll get more into that too. A little bit later on Wednesday, it's not until 9 o'clock, but you have to show up to advisory. So you'll see period 3, advisory, Devich. So just like I did the last one, you'll go in and you'll type in on your schedule, Devich. It already says advisory, so you don't need to do the subject name. Okay, so that's advisory. So here's the confusing one, especially for the 6th graders. When we're at school, in brick and mortar school, we have 2 different lunch times. One for 6th grade and half of 7th, and one for 8th grade and the other half of 7th. In our schedule, we actually have to number your lunchtime with a period number. So, but during distance learning, we don't have to block it out that way. So since we're hopefully going back to school at some point, we don't want to rearrange your schedules every time we have to go back to school or go back to distance learning or however this is going to look. So we decided we're going to keep the schedule the same, and our 6th graders will figure this out just as much as everybody does every year. But I'm going to walk you through it. So this is a 6th grader's schedule. And you can see it has periods 5 and 6. Corresponding down here in the yellow are also periods 5 and 6. But it's during just one chunk of time. Right. So what you'll do as a 6th grader is you'll say, oh, here's the pink box, period 5 or 6. You come up here and you look at them. Your period 5 has a math class. Your period 6 has lunch. Don't worry about lunch right there. You're going to do period 5 math with Mrs. Libertino. So that you'll come down here and you'll type in there subject, math, teacher name, Libertino. And then you'll do the same for Friday. That's it. It's not really that complicated. If you were at school, on campus, when period 5 came and the bell rang, you would go to math. And then when we rang the bell for period 6, you would go to lunch, and then the other kids that were at lunch during period 5 would go to class during period 6. It takes a few times for it to sink into your head that that's actually what's happening, but for years and years, everybody's figured it out. So I'm highly confident that you'll be able to figure it out. And if you have troubles, all your teachers will walk you through it on the first day of school anyway. So that's the kind of the tricky part of the class schedule. So distance learning, is this going to be the same as remote online learning from spring, or is it going to be different? What are the expectations? How does this work? So I'm going to walk you through some of those pieces. Okay, so first of all, different from spring. Every day you have to be face-to-face with your teachers. So it's not something that I just made up. It's actually California Ed Code. They put the law into action during distance learning, what the requirements are. So students have to actually attend every class. And by attend, it means you have to be online and live with your teacher for that block of time. So there's a little bit of some wiggle room in there. So let me tell you first of all, you have to be online. You have to be on the screen, so you can't just like cut out your video and like be playing badminton in the back or something and nobody can see you. You actually have to have your video screen on. And your teachers are going to be doing live instruction. I don't know if you saw on that schedule during distance learning, we'll go over it a little bit more in a few minutes, but it's a long block of time for each of those periods. It's like 90 minutes. Nobody really wants to be face-to-face with anybody for 90 minutes. That's a long stretch. So your teachers are going to mix things up. So just like in the classroom, you'll have a chunk of direct instruction. And then your teacher might say, okay, now I want you to go back to your desk and work on this project or this, this independent, not independent study, but independent practice alone. And then we'll check in. Or your teacher might say, okay, now I'm going to put you guys into different Google breakout rooms, and you're going to work in a small group, and I'll check in on your breakout rooms. Whatever the case may be, that whole 90 minutes is dedicated to that single subject. The nice thing about it is your teacher is readily available during that whole 90 minutes. So first they're going to be teaching, doing some direct instruction. And I say first, but they might mix it up. They might have you do some independent work first and then do the piece. That's going to be up to each individual teacher. But there'll be live work or live teaching going on. And then if they send you to do independent work and they say, it's okay, you can exit this Google Meet and do the independent work, know that your teacher is still there and ready for you if you have questions during that full block of time. Just like in the classroom, if they sent you to your desk to do the math page, but then you had a problem and you needed to raise your hand and you needed to go up to the desk and ask the teacher, or however that worked, they're there, they're available. Well, the teacher will be available to you the whole 90 minutes. So they'll either be live on your screen watching what you're doing, kind of weird, or they'll be in the Google Meet for you to pop back into to either tell them that you finished or ask questions or say, what's next? Or, can I work with so-and-so? Just like you would ask questions in the classroom. So that's for the most part, for most of you, going to be very different from how it was in the springtime. You have to follow the classroom rules and norms. I know teachers are going to be establishing the norms of distance learning, and you're required to follow them. It may be things like, don't eat while you're on the screen with me because I don't want to see you chewing. Yeah, that might happen because that's what would happen in class. Of course, you have to dress and behave appropriately. Dress appropriately. So that means that you shouldn't be in your bathing suit. You should be in clothes that you would wear that are appropriate for online interaction. The other one is where you position your camera or your Chromebook. Like if you're laying in bed and your camera it's going to be looking up your nose. So your teacher might have some rules or some norms about camera positioning and that sort of thing also. And you have to follow them just like you would if we were on campus. Required attendance. This is important. Just like going to school every single day, this is different than it was in the springtime. You actually have to show up and your teacher will be taking attendance every day. Now remember that advisory class, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. It was only on Wednesday. Yes, you have to show up to that advisory class online and have attendance taken. It is a requirement, so you don't get to take Wednesdays off. Wednesdays actually have work to do. So, all right. So if you can't be there, if you're sick and you can't go online, it's just like if you're sick at school and you can't go to school. Your parents have to call into the attendance hotline and you're absent. And we're also asking that you email the teacher specifically, so they're not trying to hunt you down. Well, I don't think they would hunt you down. Okay, so just when you have all of that figured out, I'm going to throw a wrench in it because the first day of school, the schedule is going to be a little bit different. Well, a lot different. We really want you to touch base with all of your teachers as soon as you can. So that's what we're doing on the first day of school only. And this is the schedule for the first day of school. It kind of has the same coloring, but blue. The times are different, but it goes through all of the periods except advisory. So advisory is not on the first day of school. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click off and it's going to take us back to that tab or to that sheet where you had the schedule. And you're like, yeah, Ms. Flowers, it's the exact same schedule. But once it loads, remember it takes forever for mine to load, probably because I have too many tabs open. Remember that for when you're having technology trouble, close some of your tabs. If you come, wait for it to not say working. Okay, if you come down here to the second tab on the bottom, so I'm going to move my cursor a little bit slower so you can watch it roll. There's the regular schedule. and first day only schedule. There it is, just like I had pictured in my slide deck. This one, you'll already have it because you made a copy from before. You just have to go to the second tab and you can fill in the names if you want to. I mean, if you're like, yeah, I got it, Mrs. Flowers, I don't need this much detail. But you can fill in all of those pieces. And you'll go to school on the first day of school only until 11:50. So it's kind of a half day for students. So that's nice, little bonus. So that's the first day of school only. And again, we're doing that because, here we go, let's see if we can get back into presentation mode. We're doing that because, again, we want you to see all of your teachers on the first day. And your teachers are going to go through pieces with you. So let's see. First day of school is the 25th. That is a Tuesday. The day before, Monday, August 24th, your teachers are going to send you an email. So everybody has 6 teachers. Well, everybody has 6 official classes. Some kids have, like they might have Mrs. Brokoff for both English and social studies. So Mrs. Brokoff might just send 1 email instead of 2. But everybody has 6 courses, so you should hear from all of your teachers. Well, you will hear from all of your teachers on Monday. That means Monday, the 24th, the day before the first day of school. You have to check your email. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get to class. So on Monday, you're going to check your email, and there'll be an email or an invitation from your teacher to go to your Google Meet, and it will be during that particular time on your first day of school schedule. If you're like, okay, this is just too much, it's just too confusing, don't worry about it. Just get to period 1. If you can get to period 1, your period 1 teacher has like 20 minutes to a half hour to walk you through, okay, here's what you need to do to get to period 2, to period 3, just like we would do for you guys on the first day of school. First day of school is always a little chaotic. We expected this to be a little bit chaotic. So if you're like, this is overwhelming and confusing, just chill. We'll all figure it out. It always ends up working out, and it'll work out this way too. Okay, so check your email. Looking for those invitations. All right, I'm back to the regular bell schedule because I want to talk to you more about the routines and expectations that are specific on the schedule. All right. I created this schedule to start for my daughter. I'm like, there's just no way she's going to have to wake up. So I actually blocked in wake up. Lots of folks eat breakfast first thing in the morning. So you could wake up and have your breakfast or do some chores around the house to help your family or things like that. But stuff needs to happen so that you're ready for 8 o'clock. And remember, I'm not going to go over that first day of school bell schedule because that's pretty clear. It's pretty obvious. This is from there on what your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going to look like while we're in distance learning. So you got to get up, get yourself ready because at 8 o'clock, school starts and you need to be prepared to be in front of that screen starting at 8 o'clock. Don't be late. Okay, so first period, you might have Mrs. Brown. So you're going to log on. Mrs. Brown will already have talked to you the day before, talked to you about things and said, okay, remember, tomorrow you have this, etc. You'll have a Google Meet ready to go for your class, so you know where to click to get on the screen. And remember, it's 90 minutes long. Okay, after that's over, of course, I'm going to have a frog in my throat. After that's over, you go for a break, just like you would have a break at school. And then you go to period 4. I know the numbering's wacky, but it's going to make sense if you start thinking about going back on campus. Okay, and then after period 4, also 90 minutes long, your teachers have office hours for 15 minutes. Office hours are a good time for you to connect with your teacher. Your teacher might post their actual Google Meets for their office hours. They might say, this is a great time for you to chat, Google Chat with me because I'm available. They might say, this is a time for me. I'm going to check in my emails during this time so I can get right back to you that day. But if you don't have any questions and you don't have anything that you need a teacher for during this teacher office hours, You don't have to be face-to-face with anybody. And of course, during lunch, you don't have to be face-to-face with anybody. It's a good time for you to check social media or relax. Of course, it's a good time for you to eat. It might also be a good idea to get out of your chair, get up, stretch, walk around, because you've already done a full stretch in front of your computer. And that's not helpful. You should be standing up and you should be moving around at times. At 12:05, and these are on your regular, everything's in quotes now, regular school day, lunch will be over and you'll be ready for period 7 on Monday. Again, 90 minutes long. Then you get to 1:35 in the afternoon. From 1:35 to 2:05, this is teacher-directed small group or individual intervention instruction. So if you were in your math class, say 4th period, and you were just not understanding it, and your teacher says, okay, I'm going to pull you guys back, this small group back together during intervention time. Look for the Google Meet. Then you'll know that during that time, you're going to need to pop on with your teacher and get some reteaching or direct instruction or some kind of small intervention type piece. And we built that into every day or every regular day. Okay, so then you go to bed, you wake up, and it's Tuesday. Same thing, it's just different period numbers. So Tuesday morning, it's period 2 and then a break. And then it goes to that period 5 or 6. Just remember, look at your schedule. Does period 5 have a class? You go to that one. Does period 6 have a class? You go to that one. I promise, well, I'm pretty close to promising, almost 100% sure that no child is going to actually be scheduled for both period 5 and period 6 with a teacher getting instruction. And if that happens, it's because we messed up and we will fix it. And all you have to do if there's a mess up on your schedule is talk to your school counselor, and their contact information is later in this presentation. So you have periods 5, 6, then again, teacher office hours and lunch, and then period 8. And then after that, small group instruction. And I want you to know I color-coded these, pink and blue, because I was running out of colors. And the same thing happens on Thursday and Friday. So you'll go through your regular school day on Thursday and Friday. So now let's look at Wednesday, because Wednesday's different. And first, let me explain to you why Wednesday's different. There is a lot more planning and a lot more paperwork and behind the scenes stuff that has to happen for our teachers to pull off distance learning. And there's a lot of new things to learn for teachers. So professional development that has to happen, meetings that have to happen, collaboration with teachers so that they are staying in line with their instruction. And so we blocked a lot of that chunk of time on Wednesday. But you still have to show up on Wednesday morning for advisory. So what's going to happen during advisory? First of all, absolutely, attendance will be taken at the beginning of advisory at 9 o'clock. So you have to be there. You're accountable for that. Okay. So in advisory, your teacher's going to have some kind of lesson to give you that really connects with you about the stuff that's going on. So you'll have your digital citizenship lessons during that time. You'll have your SEL or social emotional learning lessons at that time. You'll do things to connect. And we worked really hard on the master schedule to make sure that your teacher for advisory is your teacher for one of your other classes. Most likely, for most of you, it's also your period for teacher. So you'll see that on your schedule. Some people got switched around, but we were really careful to ensure that if you got switched around for advisory, it's with a teacher that you also have a class with. So if you're a 6th grader, you're not going to end up with some 8th grade teacher. Love your 8th grade teachers, but wait till you get to 8th grade. Okay, I know a lot of information. That's why it's good that this is recorded, because if you need me to say it again, you can just back up and listen to it again. So you're in advisory, it's only a half hour long. And after advisory, you don't have to go face to face with the teacher for the rest of advisory unless your teacher told you you have to. Like on Monday or Tuesday, they're like, I need you during this block of time during office hours from 9:30 to 11:30 to do a reteach. Of course, my voice. But chances are most of you won't have that, but you will have work to do on Tuesdays. You can see down here in this block, it says independent assignments. You'll have at least 35 minutes of work, independent work to do from every class that you had on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll use that example of your 4th period math teacher again. You went to math, you have Miss Reese, you did your instruction on period 4 on Monday, and she said, okay, here's your Wednesday assignment. Make sure you do this independent work on Wednesday. And it should be around 35 minutes worth of work to do. So you don't get to take the day off, okay? So Wednesday's not a freebie day where you can go hit the beach. But maybe it could be, sort of, if you go to advisory and you get your work done diligently. You get to do a little bit of like self-planning on what that day looks like. You have to do the work. It has to be turned in, but we're not making you stay on a bell schedule. You're doing independent work, and the teachers are going to be working on collaboration, professional development, and planning. Okay, so that takes us through Wednesday. We already covered Thursday and Friday, so I'm pretty sure we hit all our marks on this one. I put a place for you to put your name up here. Now, remember from the beginning of the video, I told you I took my daughter who's in 6th grade and did this schedule with her. Did the whole thing, did it on her own Google sheet. She put her name up at the top, put her teachers and her subjects in all of the spots. And then she printed it, she trimmed it, all the edges, and she taped it right by where her desk is in her bedroom. That's a great idea. That's talking about those routines and those organization pieces that help get us through wackiness, okay? I highly recommend that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Okay, so we still have the Falcon 4. And for our 6th graders, you've never even heard of that, or if you heard about it from an older sibling, it's be respectful, responsible, be safe, and work together. These still stand. They're still ours. They still make sense for distance learning. Be respectful online. Be respectful to your family because your family is working with you in your home. Be respectful to your teachers. Most of all, respect yourself. Recognize that you're being given a huge set of responsibilities, one of the Falcon 4, about guiding your own learning during your independent times. That means get to class on time. Be presentable when you're in view of others. Make sure your video is on. All kinds of things. So let's go through it. Okay, so start your day off right. We talked about that. Create a space and dedicated time for learning. I was up in the middle of everything during distance learning at home. I had the cats going by, I had my kids in the background, I had all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So over the summer, my kids and I talked about, well, what went well during remote online learning in the spring, and what do we have to change? And one of them they said was, Mom, you have to get out of the dining room because you are always shushing us when you're on a meeting or you're doing that. So I carved out a little space for myself, and it's pretty small, but for the most part, hopefully we won't have anybody walking down the stairs behind me because it's my own little space. You need to think about the same thing over this next week. Do you have your own little space? It might not be in your room. It might not be completely your own, but think about dedicating a spot for yourself and then put some things in there that you need or that you want or make them look good. I got myself my little pencils and my purple AOMS pen and a pair of scissors. And I made it, little tiny things to make it so that my workspace, my teaching, my principling space, when I have to be at home, looks right and it looks nice. So you should do the same for yourself. And again, it doesn't have to be fabulous. It just needs to be yours. And then you say, okay, this is where I do school. Okay, of course, I talked about dressing appropriately, limiting your food and drinks. I need to have a glass of water if I have to talk this long, so I've got my cup. But I'm not going to be noshing on pork rinds in front of you guys because that's not appropriate for what a principal does with you. And it wouldn't be appropriate for you and I to talk like that unless it was lunchtime. Okay? Sit in the view of the camera. So none of these little chopping your head off this way and chopping your head off that way. Try really hard to make sure that your camera's in the right spot. Of course, be on time for class. Talked about setting up your daily routines, and attendance is expected. Okay, so the orange ones, practicing digital citizenship. You guys have all had lessons on digital citizenship, and you're going to get more. It means let's go through those. Using technology appropriately, making sure that you use those online etiquettes. Kind of everything starts to fold together. Follow the school-wide rules and expectations, and they have 3 of the Falcon 4 down here because this is the district one. Collaborate with peers using respectful language and behavior, of course, and follow the academic honesty policy. You guys are going to be all on computers now. It is really tempting to just copy and paste what so-and-so wrote in their English essay and push it over to yours. But remember, your English teacher is going to be reading your essay. And if you're caught, that's not necessarily collaboration unless it was supposed to be a joint project. It's cheating. And you'll get a 0 and you'll have discipline connected to that. So you don't want to go that route. Okay. During learning time, that's in the green along the side, mute your microphone while others are talking. I think all of you probably have this by now, but make sure that happens. You have to sign into your Google Classroom every day. All of your lessons are getting pushed out through Google Classroom. So you're going to be like Google Classroom Pro. You're going to know how to get where everything is, how to turn everything in. Most of you are probably at that place anyway, even our 6th graders, because you had to do that during 5th grade, but there'll be a lot of teaching and training that goes with that. Read directions carefully. This is one of the things I heard mostly from teachers last year during remote online learning, and that was, it seems like I write it and I tell them, but they don't read the directions. And then they ask me a question, and it's like I can just copy and paste the directions back to them in the chat, but it's the exact same thing I said before. So be that responsible student and reread the directions carefully. Reread them carefully. Of course, still ask questions if you're not sure, but just like if you were in class, you would read the directions up on the board. You might even ask your classmate, do I understand this right? And then if you're still not sure, check with the teacher. Make sure that you're doing that just as a responsible person. That's what we do. We take that on and we try to figure it out, and then we ask. And ask if you have to, but read carefully first. Okay, there we go. Next one, ask for help. Do not, if you're lost, you've got to speak up, okay? Even if you feel like it's a silly question, you reread it, you still don't understand it, you have to ask. Ask your teacher, ask me, ask the counselors, ask Mr. Liebentritt. For you 6th graders, Mr. Liebentritt is our assistant principal. You'll get to virtually meet him in a few days. Ask somebody, because we're not right next to you. We're not going to see that lost look on your face to say, okay, Jane, what's going on? Do you understand this? So you have to self-advocate. You have to be the one who says, I don't get this. I need help. Okay, the balance beam here, or the scale, excuse me, it says creating balance by taking time to work offline and upload assignments. Okay, so remember, your teachers are going to frame that 90 minutes. Some of it's going to be direct face-to-face and some of it's not. The other thing is recognize that you could be in front of a screen for hours and hours and hours for school. So you're going to need to balance for your brain and your eyeballs some not screen time. So that means that your after school time can't all be in front of a screen. It really just isn't healthy for you. So you're going to have to move around. I know this is kind of opposite of during school, like when we're like, no cell phones, no electronics, you know, and you're in the classroom and you have to interact. And then you go home and you're like, give me my cell phone. Or the second you get out of class, you're like, give me my cell phone. It's opposite. Now, bummer is that you're not doing something that's, you know, like TikTok or anything like that during the school day, because you have to be face-to-face with your teachers. But you'll be okay, because there are many, many hours in the day, and there's only so many TikTok videos you can watch anyway. Okay, down in the bottom corner, complete all assignments by their due dates. This is like the best advice anybody can give a student. complete every assignment. Even if you don't get a perfect score on your assignment, it's way better than a 0. Complete every assignment. Your teacher's going to give you feedback if you don't understand it, or if you didn't complete it all, you didn't, like you're totally lost, or you got some wrong. They'll give you feedback, but don't fail to turn in assignments. It is like a disaster in education when you don't turn your stuff in. It's not a disaster for me because, I promoted out of middle school. I've already had my middle school education. This is your middle school education. So make sure you do the work. Okay. So again, the Falcon 4, be respectful, responsible, safe, and work together. Kind of touched on all those things. Remember that safety piece is also how you behave yourself on a online platform. Online bullying, getting yourself onto websites you shouldn't be on. All of those things are going to be covered when we talk to you in class about digital citizenship. But also just be smart. What I tell my own kids and many students is, if you're not sure that you should do a thing, just imagine if on your right-hand side was Mrs. Flowers and on your left-hand side was your mother or father. Would you make the choice to look at that website or make those comments or do those things? If you're like, oh no, I would never let them know about it, then you probably shouldn't do it when you're also by yourself in front of the screen. A little bit, tidbit of parenting advice, or I guess growing up advice, because I'm not advising your parents, I'm advising you. Okay, lots of words on this page. So number 1, this goes to students and to families. Every Thursday evening at 6:30, I am going to be online for anybody to pop in. It's either going to be a Zoom or a Google Meet, and it might be YouTube Live. I'm not sure if I can figure that out by Thursday. But starting this Thursday, I'll be on from 6:30, and it's, I think, 45 minutes long, for any questions, 6:30 in the evening. So hopefully if folks are at work, they can get back to me on there. For questions and answers, this is students can come, of course teachers, but teachers have lots of other times they can connect with me, and families. And if you have a question about online learning, or you have a question about when are we going back to school, or anything, or how do I get help, or I didn't understand this, if you want to, you can ask me math problems and language arts problems and those things. But I'll be on live every Thursday, and I'm committing for no matter how long we do distance learning, if it's just 4 weeks, if it's 8, if it's 36 weeks, whatever it is, every Thursday I'm going to be live and available to families and students. Okay? Your teachers have blocked out times. Remember your schedule where it says office hours? They have blocked out times in addition to the 90 minutes when you can just raise your hand. They have blocked out times to check for emails, to do small group instruction. Some teachers might even, like I said, have block out during their office hours a meet that you can go to and just talk to them. You need to reach out. Now, you're part of the teaching team. We've been saying this to you guys for years, to kids, saying, hey, you need to take responsibility in your own learning. Okay, it got thrown on us in like a major way. You guys have to take responsibility for your own learning. And your parents and you and your teachers, staff, everybody's trying to connect together on this one. And we need you to engage on this. So that means that if you're lost, you ask. And parents, we need you to come alongside your kids, because we're not shoulder to shoulder with them. We're not going to see the lost look in their eyes and be like, okay, they're not getting it, but you will. So reach out to teachers. Do that more than you have ever done before. Reach out to teachers and say, we need help, or we're not understanding, or Jane didn't get that. She needs a reteach on that. Because we're ready. Teachers are ready to do those things, but it's hard for us to assess and really know because we don't have that personal connection right now, like personal physical connection. Okay, great resources are school counselors. Our school counselors are so ready and excited. They've already rolled out their new website. It's got all kinds of neat things. So Ms. Vetrano and Ms. Helena are ready. Again, we have to partner with each other. Okay, and our school counselors are part of that partnership. School counselors cover 3 big ones. They're academic, career, and social emotional growth. So in any of those areas, you guys know, well, 6th graders, you don't know because you didn't get to experience, but 7th and 8th graders, you know, when you're on campus and you're like, somebody will just say, just go see the counselor during lunch, or yeah, pop in, or ask the counselor to pull you out of class and they'll chit chat with you about, you know, what's going on. Well, that still exists. And the school counselors have their website. You'll see it linked on the next slide, where you can ask, I need to talk to a counselor. And it can be about friend problems. It can be about school problems. It can be about life problems. And it can also be just no problems at all. You just need somebody to chat with. That's okay too. And our school counselors are ready for all of that. Okay. Assistant Principal, Mr. Liebentritt. Again, you'll get to see him in an upcoming video. The neat thing about Mr. Liebentritt is when you don't know the answer, he is full of resources, even probably more so than me because he's been in Carlsbad District longer. So if you're like, well, I don't really know how to get that, or I'm not sure what's going on with my email address or this or that, chances are Mr. Liebentritt knows how to fix it or knows where the answer is. So he is a wonderful resource. Then down at the bottom is me, okay? I love talking to kids, and it's the thing I miss the most for sure. I don't get to be out there at lunchtime with you guys walking around, picking up trash and recyclables and just shooting the breeze. I don't get to be around you guys, so I miss you. So call me. My phone number is going to be on the next one. Email me. For kids, you can Google chat me. I had a couple of kids who did that over the summer just to say hi, which was so neat. Anything. Parents, if you have any questions, please connect with me. I absolutely will call you back, or I will email, but probably I'll call because I like it. I like that better. I will do it. I'll do my best to do it the same day, but I absolutely will connect with you. I don't ever read emails and delete them without responding. So please reach out because this piece has to stay, we have to stay connected. Okay, so here's all that contact information. And you don't have to write anything down because you're going to have this, actually, the whole slide deck shared with you also. The front office, you can call the front office, you can only leave messages because during distance learning, there's not going to be a staff member there staffing it to answer. So you have to leave a message. The teacher contact information, you'll get that on your Google Classroom. That's that link to that website for our school counselors. Please check it out. It's so cute. Okay. Direct email addresses for both the counselors. Email address for Mr. Liebentritt. Email address for me. And finally, this is my direct office line. Now, the cool thing is if you leave a message on my direct office line, I get it in an email and I can listen to your message no matter where I am, whether I'm on campus or here under the stairs. All right, maybe not. So there's some district resources that I want to go over also. So first of all, there's this, I'm going to go on the right-hand side, and it's the digital learning, let me see if I can say this right. Our digital learning guides for families. So this is the hub for the district on all things we think, I'm sure there'll be more, that families and students are going to need for distance learning. It has things like navigating the class, Google Classroom. How does Clever work? How do parents do their part of Google Classroom? So the link is up here, the digital citizenship. You click on the yellow and it takes you to it. And it doesn't have a purple background because it's not Aviara, it has yellow. So you have middle school students sample schedule. Now you're going to see something. I'm going to take you through this. When you go to the sample schedule, it's going to look a little bit like ours, but the period numbers are different because remember, at our school, we count lunch and advisory as periods. So I had to change, I'm pointing at it, I had to change the period numbers. So that's a sample schedule. That one's not yours. The one you're going to look at is the one in the slide deck and the one that will be emailed to you. Okay, then you scroll down. Here's the getting started stuff. If you're like, oh, I got this email from my teacher inviting me to Google Classroom, but I don't even know how to do Google Classroom. Okay, that's going to be like, shouldn't be any of you, but there might be one or two brand new students that happens to. This is the spot. How do you navigate Google Classroom? It's right here in green. Navigate Google Classroom. How do you attend a Google Meet? What are some essential tools for learning? And then, of course, the one in the beginning, helping your virtual learners succeed. This is a good one for both students and parents to go through all of those places, all of those things. It's the same stuff we talked about, but it's good to hear it from a different voice. You continue scrolling down. This is the guide for families. They're going to tell you all about Clever. So what's Clever? What is that? Why is there another word on top of Google Classroom on top of everything else? Just so you know, Clever is kind of the umbrella place where we put all our applications for kids to access. So kind of like the basket where we have everything. But it'll talk about what is Clever like? Why do the kids even say that? There's that guide to Google Classroom for parents. And then also how parents can set up a guardian summaries in Google Classroom. That one's fun too. But it's just another way for us to keep an eye on the kids. Okay, so coming down, how students log into the G Suite, how they get their email, all the pieces that we're thinking about that really need to happen. Remember that other page with student expectations? Pull it right off of here and put it on my slide deck. And then, of course, how parents can help at home. We're going to cover that right now. So that's the hub. You're definitely going to want to look at that. I almost forgot. Up at the, oh, I don't have to scroll for this part, sorry. But up at the top of this one is tech help and Chromebook request. So if we had a great one this week, somebody's Chromebook, the font is all like 64. So you can't even see the whole screen. Another person, a teacher had a problem because their their trackpad wasn't working. So tech help, some of it you don't have to turn in your Chromebook. Some of it is just, okay, they can say, okay, now I want you to click this button and change this. So your tech help request form is up here. But what if your Chromebook won't take a charge and it won't work at all? Then you're going to go to the Chromebook request form up here. Those are really self-explanatory. We'll go through that. All right, so heading back over to our slide deck. And click on it and it goes back. All right, whoops, I have to go back a page. Sorry, I don't know how to do that from the slide deck. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, so now let's go over to the left-hand side, the blue. Ways to support your learner from home. Talked about a few of these, but I think it's worth talking about again. Okay, so of course, parents, please establish routines with your kids. Children thrive off of having boundaries and then freedom inside boundaries, okay? Set up that daily schedule. You might want to have incentive programs. I do for my kids. My kids have to do chores before they're allowed to have their cell phones back in the morning or anything like that. So you set up a little incentive, or hopefully incentive and not so much discipline, because it works better for kids, as my kids constantly remind me. Monitor online behavior. We have systems set up to monitor online behavior, and we will call you, both student and parent, if students are misbehaving on our suite of applications. But kids can open up different windows and see things, especially if your household doesn't have a firewall or a way to protect. So you need to be popping in unexpectedly on your children. And honestly, you should do that always, on their phones, on their laptops, what they're watching on TV. You gotta monitor them, because kids are still working on their maturity to understand what's appropriate and inappropriate and where the boundaries are. Set up a space for learning, even if it's just a little corner or a little spot, a designated space for learning. Number 2 is support your students. Help your students own their learning. I think I must have got my ideas from before from this page. Monitor their work completion and their due dates. Make sure students read directions carefully. I did. I think I got everything from here. Your teachers are going to send out a syllabus. Every teacher will send out a syllabus in the first couple of days of school. A syllabus for 6th graders, if you've never heard that term before, a syllabus is all the expectations that the teacher has for that class. So what grading is going to look like, what homework is going to look like, what classwork is going to look like, what students' responsibilities are, contact information, all that stuff. It's all in one spot for that teacher. It's called their syllabus. multiple syllabus. Let's see, syllabus. So syllabi is multiple. Okay. So review the syllabus with your students, guide them with questions, provide support and encouragement. This is not easy. This digital learning, it's not a piece of cake. Digital teaching, digital principling, digital home at work, all of it's tough. So we really have to support each other. And then make sure you start and finish, check in with your kids. And as your kids go and mature through middle school, they get a little bit grumpier about the check-ins, but do it anyway. Maintaining balance, time for quiet and reflection, monitoring, that time spent on the screen and offline. Make sure that they take breaks. So that means when they get to that end in 90 minutes and they get to say, hey, up, get out, run up and down the stairs or something. Encourage that physical activity. For all of you, one of your periods is PE. So you will be moving at least twice a week. Help your students stay connected safely with friends. We don't get that personal one-on-one connection with friends. And middle school's that time for building those friend relationships, and it's the time for working out what it's like to be a friend. Unfortunately, sometimes middle schoolers work it out on each other, but it's a huge piece that's missing. So facilitate that with your kids and say, hey, all right, after school, connect with so-and-so on, social media or TikTok, or make a phone call or those things. We really want to be safe though. So, social distancing and not having friend groups come together and hugging each other and shoulder to shoulder, still not appropriate, but try to make those friend connections. Monitor that social media use and remain mindful of your students' stresses or worries. Parents, when kids come to middle school, they all of a sudden have a lot more people in their lives. So they have relationships with their friends who are often looking out for them. And then they build relationships with 4 to 6 more teachers than they usually had in elementary school. And all of those adults build strong personal relationships with their students. And so your students go from elementary kids who have their teacher and their parent and some friends to having many teachers, many friends, and of course their parents. But all of those people in that network watch out for each other. All of those teachers watch out for their students, and they're looking and checking in. Are you okay? And then school counselors are regularly checking in. Well, some of those pieces are disjointed now. Friends are not right next to each other right now. Teachers are not shoulder to shoulder with students right now. We may not pick up on the cues of social emotional struggles right now. And so parents, this is a bigger role for you, definitely. I know you already have experienced it for the last, I think, 6 months now. But just a reminder that needs to be a primary thing that you're looking at, checking in with your kids on their social emotional health. Age appropriate and factual information, because that's a really important piece. We get a lot of crazy stuff in the news about this and that and the other, but give your kids, especially your middle schoolers, the facts that as best you can discern them, and the things that are unknown, tell them, because they can handle it. They're like, we don't know that piece yet. We're working on it, but we'll see. And no matter what, you have your connections with your family and your community to help guide you. Stay in touch. Like I said before, you've got to connect with the teachers. You've got to connect with counselors, connect with me. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for that page. Oh, that was a long one. Sorry. Okay. This week. So today I'm going to get this out. I'm pretty sure it's Sunday right now, so it should be Sunday when I deliver this out to you guys. So you'll get it on Sunday. Tuesday, 8th graders, you're coming on campus spaced out like crazy over many, many hours by alphabet. So please come in by alphabet so you guys aren't on top of each other. Coming in to get your schedule, you're coming in to get library materials. A lot of English teachers have novels they want you to take home. We're hoping that the math books come by tomorrow, because we don't have them yet. They're back ordered. I don't know if it's shipping or if it's at the publisher, but the math workbooks are back ordered. But if we have them, we'll get those. 8th graders, you'll also go through the locker room and clean up your locker. And that goes for 7th grade too. So 7th and 8th grade will do that whole routine. I'm going to show you on the picture too. So 8th graders are on Tuesday by alpha. 7th graders are on Wednesday by Alpha, and 6th graders are on Thursday by Alpha. We have a lot of 6th graders. We have a really big 6th grade class, so we had to extend the time for an extra hour. For some reason, you can't make those days. We have 2 makeup days, one in the morning, one in the evening. Okay, so let me show you what it's going to look like when you come on campus. And Mr. Liebentritt was kind enough to do us a overhead satellite map. First thing to think about when you come on campus is we have been getting solar put up, those big solar overhead things on our in our parking lot. So we may only have half the parking lot to use. That's what they said. We'll see. So limited parking when you come in. So you may have a couple of spots here in the parking lot that you can use. There's a few spots, of course, in the AOE parking lot where you can also use, but if those don't work out for you, you'll have to park on Ambrosia and walk in. So when you come for material pickup, you are going to come in on the AOE's gate. So see this yellow line. So if you park up here on ours, there's a set of steps right here. You walk down, ding, 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 and you turn here, okay? If you park down here, it's really easy to get there. It's easy either way. It's just a set of steps, okay? So you're going to come in here. The first person you're going to see is Ms. Benkovic. She's going to make sure that the line goes nice. Ms. Benkovic is one of our campus supervisors. She's going to make sure that the line goes in nice and spaced out. You must wear a mask and you must maintain social distancing. For parents and students, we are asking that just one parent come along with the students so that we don't have a large group that we have to consider with social distancing. Okay, so you'll go in. The first person you'll see is Ms. Benkovic, and she will have you go through threading in, and then you'll get to me. And I will be there with Ms. Hazelwood, and we will give you your schedule. So that's the first step. You'll get your schedule. I'll say hi. There's going to be 2 tables between me and you so that I don't get you sick and you don't get me sick. I'll have my mask on. And I'll probably have gloves on too as I give out the schedules. So I'll give you your schedule, and then you will walk down this corridor through the lunch area all the way to the library. And under the trees right here from the library will be a full setup of tables. And they will have the textbooks that you need, if you have any, because not everybody has to take home textbooks. Math workbooks, we're hoping, novels, any materials that your teachers need you to have, they'll be set up, and there'll be folks there behind tables directing you, no, pick up one of these, pick up one of these. You'll continue walking right down in front of our library, right here, where our librarian and probably 2 other librarians from the other schools will be there for you to show them your schedule, because it has your student ID number, and they will scan any materials that you're checking out. Then from there, you'll have your books, you'll have your stack, and you will get to go on the walkway back here, which I never let anybody walk on, but you get to this time. Walk on this walkway. You're going behind this building. And if you are a 7th or 8th grader, you have to continue over to the locker room. If you're a 6th grader, on 6th grader day, you will turn here and you will exit campus out there and then back to your car. So pretty straightforward for 6th grade. If you're a 7th or 8th grader, you're turning and you're going to go to the back door of the locker room that you usually don't get to enter. And you're going to enter your locker room, and you're going to clean out your locker. If you don't remember your locker number or your combination, do not worry. We have a key to the combination. We have a list of the locker numbers. We have bags for you to clear your stuff out and put in. Then you will exit, and you'll come all the way around here and exit campus. It's pretty straightforward. On this document, which you have a link to, you'll see that all of these details that I just talked about are clearly marked here. I think we got it all. That's Mr. Liebentritt. He's really good at that stuff. All right, so that's pickup day. All right, I don't think I've forgotten anything on that one. Oh, if you don't pick up your stuff by the end of the day on makeup day, we're going to assume that you would like it donated, and we will donate it. Okay, so the last thing, the final bit is a couple of links. We're still doing meal distributions because kids aren't there for lunch, and a lot of kids get lunch at school. So that's still happening, and I have a link here for you for meal distribution. There's a direct link for that Chromebook problems. And then online registration. 90% of our kids, of our families did the online registration, but there's still 10% of you out there that did not or had troubles with the online registration. So you need to do that before we're going to give you a schedule. So make sure you get that done tonight or tomorrow. I think that's everything. I didn't do a big happy concluding slide, which would have been nice. I just want you to know, guys, I know this was really long. You can skip through it if you want. You can just look at the slideshow if you want, but I miss you guys so much, and I'm sorry it took so long to get through everything. And I'm really, really looking forward to being the person who hands you your schedule and says hi to you, because I miss you guys terribly. So take care, go Falcons, and we'll see you next week.